Oh, hello, folks. This is Ken David Stewart, back with another podcast today. This one is entitled What's Up? No, December 2019 edition by Ken David Stewart, yours truly. As a Christian, one thing is very apparent to me, period. When you really start pressing in, or basically step up your game for Jesus, the devil will retaliate. His form of retaliation appears to be in direct proportion to the degree one tries to know Jesus intimately and to try to follow his example and teachings. If you are active to any degree in a ministry, it's like the enemy has put a target on your back. The key is not to let him defeat you. If you get serious about your walk with Jesus, expect to get backlash from the enemy. For the last few years, my life has followed a pattern that I want to break, as it has been a series of extreme hills and valleys. During times that I'm feeling good and I'm feeling God's favor, I would have to say that I reached the mountaintop. From August to the beginning of November 2019, I felt greatly blessed and highly favored. I had just recovered from a 2-month period of being so depressed that I could barely function. I wasn't quite bedridden, but I was definitely couch ridden. About the only times I vacated the couch was when I had to go upstairs to use the bathroom. Now that's what you call clinical depression. During June and July, all I could do was watch television. For the Christian who suffers from severe depression, the battle is also spiritual. The devil loves using major affective disorder as a great and very effective tool in his arsenal. Once he has you functionally out of commission, you can no longer do any damage to his kingdom. When I am stranded on my couch, my spiritual life dies. I no longer read the Bible or spend much time with Jesus, pray for myself, my family, or others. In other words, my ministry and spiritual life is halted dead in its tracks. Looking back on it, I think I may know part of the reason I fell into such a dismal state. What I'm not sure of is what brought me back to the land of the living again. It was probably just the compassion of Jesus. Certainly nothing that I did, because I wasn't capable of doing much of anything on my own. One day in August, I simply woke up and started to feel better. I'm just going to flip the pages here. Within a couple of days, I could feel my depression start to break, and I actually felt like doing a few small things. Within a week or two, I was finally back on my feet. What I was not expecting was such great compassion from the Lord. I'm a part-time substitute teacher, and I was experiencing the best fall season I ever had up until about the first week of November. I was very well received by the students and was asked by several teachers if they could request me to substitute in their classrooms. Although I was still experiencing some pain in my left knee, it was manageable and allowed me to go to work. After many years, I found a church that I actually enjoyed attending. This was quite an experience for me, as for the most part, I didn't like attending church would only attend a church service on rare occasions. Overall, I was enjoying every day of my life during this 3-month period of God's favor. During the whole time, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. This felt too good to last very long. I almost felt high every day for 3 months. During this time, I was really pressing in with my spiritual life. I started to pray for people in the church that I was now attending. Near the second week of November, I felt that my overall mood was starting to moderate and even get a bit low. I was very afraid that I was starting to go down into another depressive cycle. During this time, I caught a severe bacterial infection, which also laid me up. As of this writing, I have still not fully recovered from it. To make matters worse, the pain in my left leg was becoming severe. It seemed that every time I got up and moved around, even a little bit, I felt an intense sense of pain. How was I going to go to work when I was in constant pain every day? During this time, I continued to keep up with my blogs, fiction writing, and podcasts. This was going well for a while until I started running into many technological challenges. My computer was on its last legs and was not working properly at all. I purchased some new video equipment for starting up my YouTube blogs again and videos. I could not seem to get my camcorder working. I was also becoming very frustrated with my fiction writing. It was becoming difficult to think up new scenes that I could develop for my new novel called Street Dreams. In summation, my life seemed to be getting worse again. I felt like I was again ready for a painful trip down the depression rabbit hole. Something seemed different this time. I thought that I might be able to stop the movement towards the emotional pit. The idea occurred to me that if I could catch the spiritual depression early enough, I might be able to stop its destructive effects and progression. I decided to take some action. I told myself that I was not going to sink into a depression this time. The vicious cycle would stop and would be broken once and for all. I began to decree this in Jesus' name. I started to read my God's Promises books on my Samsung tablet. I also started listening to my God's Promises audiobooks. I've started to speak these promises out loud. I have put God in remembrance of His promises in my prayers, and I've made a decision to remain optimistic during this time of spiritual attack. Thank you very much for listening.